everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Diamond Hands podcast. This is arguably our most well-produced episode ever. So we're here with Dr. Joelle Lieman. She is the owner of Elite Medspa in Needham, Massachusetts. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to do this today.
Thank you. So guys, I gotta tell you, it's like raining outside. It's one of those days when you're just like, and you'd rather be like in your bed cuddled up with pillows and a very handsome man.
Yes, but instead we have to work.
Exactly. Instead we have to work. And so tell us, a little bit about your background, because speaking of handsome men, you've dealt with women who've had lots of babies dealing with handsome men.
Yes.
Former OBGYN, or you are an OBGYN.
Yes.
So tell us about kind of like your journey, how you even got into medicine in the first place, and what kind of gave you that drive to become a doctor.
Well, Leslie, we don't have 2 hours, so I'm going to try to make it kind of a little bit abridged version.
Yeah.
So my background, I grew up in Canada, so I like to do a shout out to my 416 Toronto.
Yes.
And I went to McGill in Montreal, and I wanted to go into medicine. Having gone through the process of going into medicine, I feel as though your industry almost chooses you. You don't choose it. As you go through all your rotations of surgery and pediatrics and OB and all of it, and you start feeling kind of your niche, what you're good at, because you're dealing with human beings, right? You don't want to do something that makes you insecure or that you can't relate to. And as a woman, I just really related to women.
Yeah.
So I loved surgery. So the combination was so great with OB because you not only deal with women, but you're doing surgery. And for a long time, I really looked at being a surgeon on its own.
Oh, wow. So were you thinking like cosmetics? Or?
Actually, no. I was thinking of just general surgery.
Wow.
But the issue with general surgery I found is that once you remove whatever you're doing for surgery, you lose that patient. You don't have follow-up.
Yeah, because you're just like, your spleen or your pancreas.
It's gone. You're done. You can go back to your general practitioner.
Yeah.
And I realized through my just training that I really loved the relationship.
Yes.
And I saw with OB and with GYN is that you're going through many different phases of a woman's medical conditions, having children, going through menopause. And I love that long-term relationship, but yet I still love surgery.
Yes.
So it kind of just grew on me, and that's
so awesome.
how I transitioned into OB. How I got into cosmetics was really interesting. So I was in a very large practice of 10 other docs, which is basically a lot of OB practices.
Yes.
And one of our practitioners were doing injectables, and this was 15 years ago.
That's when it really started to
pop.
pop.
Yeah, and I was kind of taken with it because as I said, you're going through all these different phases through a woman's life.
Yes.
And aging is one of them.
Yeah.
And what happens to our bodies through aging, and kind of that general feeling, the psychology of getting older and what that looks like, what that feels like.
Yes, huge.
And as she was kind of finishing her career, she wanted to give up doing injectables. So I looked into, hey, how hard is it as a surgeon to start doing injectables? So I did begin about 10 years ago, starting to do just a little Botox, neurotoxin, etc., in the office. And of course, that snowballs.
Well,
one thing leads to another.
You do Botox?
Yes. And my friends were all of the age where they were like, wait a second, we need this too.
Yeah, because they want to look as good as you, of course.
Oh, thank you. Of course. So it was kind of a natural transition.
Yeah.
And as that started getting busier and busier, I started thinking I maybe need to give up a little bit of my OB time and being on call. And now this was becoming lucrative for me, so I could afford to do that. And at the same time, my kids were getting older.
Yeah.
So I have 3 boys. My twins are 17 today.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
That's so fabulous. So 17, and then your other child is how old?
14.
Oh my God.
3 boys. And so as they were kind of growing up, I was cutting down on my OB and staying overnight. So first I gave that up, and I had kind of one foot in the door. I met with actually the cool sculpting rep, who was at that point in time thinking OB is the perfect place to kind of push cool sculpting because you're having children and your body changes and whatnot. So basically I bought a machine, and then within probably about 3 weeks, bought a second machine. This was back in the day where each applicator took about an hour.
Now it's like half hour.
Yeah, exactly. And you have 4 at the same time. But then it was like 1 hour. I was there for 8 hours. It took forever to do an abdomen.
Wow.
And I leaned over one morning to my husband and said, I kind of want to open up my own spa. And as the mathematician and the brainiac in the family, he said, okay, well, as long as this X, Y, and Z and the finances work, why not?
Wow, that's so great.
I took the plunge about 7 years ago.
Yes.
I opened our first very small Elite.
Yeah.
So it was actually across the street in Needham.
Wow.
It was literally 1,000 square feet. 2 cool sculpting machines. I had a hydrofacial machine just to do some facials, and it was myself and an esthetician, and that was it. There every Saturday, answering phones, trying to build a business, but like day 1, we were profitable.
That's so amazing.
And I'm still doing GYN once a week, going into the hospital, doing my regular, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have to make a decision. It's either going to be aesthetics or it's going to be, you know that feeling when you're doing a little bit of everything and
nothing's really sticking. So tell us more about that process of, and you guys, you heard that, make a decision.
Yes.
Making decisions and being committed to something is something that maybe a lot of people struggle with, but tell us, how did you come about to making that decision and saying, I'm going to be committed to this new path forward? What was that thought process that you went through?
Well, I think it's a really good question. I mean, I would say to any woman who's listening to this, one of the hardest things once you have children is, as a working mom, is you feel like you're failing in both areas. You're not there enough for the kids, and you're not at work enough, and you need to find that balance. And it takes some time to figure out what that balance is for you. What are you comfortable with? Some people have to work 5-6 days a week, so they don't get that choice. It's actually a luxury that you can choose. For me, I think that a lot of it was my own monkey on my back, feeling like I went through all this education, and how can I give this up? And is aesthetics really an industry? Is it enough of an industry? And I guess at one point, it took years. I mean, all my girlfriends were like, would you give up the pap smears already? Like, what?
Get out the vagines. Like, we're good.
We're good. Well, you're volunteering, basically, going in for a day with what you can do at your spa. And I think for me, I needed that transition to really trust myself and because we were already profitable. So it wasn't an issue for me with the committed feeling of, is this working or not? I knew it was successful. It was more about my education, all the years I did, and will I be proud of myself that I gave it up? And I'm glad I did. You have to do what works for you. I'm glad it took me a few years because once I said enough, then we moved here, and this is 4,000 square feet.
It's a beautiful space.
I opened a wellness center, and now I really have both feet in and feel very confident.
You're
that
all
I committed.
You're all the way, and you're all the way committed, because I think that's, but I think it's important for our viewers to understand too. It's like you talked about it, having that transition period of saying, okay, it's all right to have one foot in and one foot out the door for a little bit of time while you're kind of getting confidence in your new role. So I even think for a lot of women too, to say I am the boss, or I am in charge, or I am truly responsible for all this and the livelihood of people that work for me, I think that's a big responsibility that not many women are very confident in stepping into right away.
And also, like, we didn't learn anything about managing people in medicine. I mean, medical students and residents, you train them, but they're not really your...
They just whip them.
Let me tell you.
Those doctors will whip the residents. Like, my sister, no.
It's true, though. You don't have that skill, so a lot of it was a learning curve for me, and I have been so lucky that it's been a really good fit, the people that I hired. I mean, we have no turnover. I've had Nicole's our office manager and esthetician, and now our lead esthetician. She's been with me from 6 months in. So I've learned a lot from her. And I think that's another thing, is just keeping your mind open, that You make mistakes. Are they mistakes you're gonna, do you drive yourself crazy over them, or are they learning opportunities?
Yes.
And I bought a machine for, $180,000 that I had for 6 months, and I was like, you know what? It's not working. I'm selling it.
Wow.
Instead of, what am I gonna do? And just
Like,
make
next,
the decision. Next,
next.
okay, that didn't work. Instead of this whole thing of that was a mistake.
Yes. Ooh.
So I learn a lot from, I don't know what another word for the mistakes are, but mistakes are good. It pushes you. You learn.
Stepping stones.
It is.
In a
They
way.
are, absolutely. Yeah. And now, we went from 2 staff, and now we have 13 of us.
Yes.
And you brought up something really important, and it was really hard for me over COVID because how do I hold on to these people that this is my livelihood, this is their livelihood, and what do some of these people are living paycheck to paycheck, and how do I keep them afloat? Because now that is my responsibility. Whereas before, you just go in the hospital, you do your time,
you're out, clock out, done.
Yeah. So and also you have a great connection. I have a family here. It is absolutely family. Maria, who is our patient care coordinator, will tell you this is her family.
Wow.
And so I think it's just a really important, as you commit to what your decision is, to whether if you're half here or half there, and take the transition versus being all in, you have a new job. It's a new opportunity, right?
A new opportunity.
And I take courses for management. I have Nicole taking courses for management. My husband has always managed people, and I ask him all the time, this isn't working with this person. What do you think? And he's like, manage how they need to be managed. Ooh. And that was a really good, we talk about it a lot because I'm like, I don't know what and it's not negative, it's just learning.
Yes, it's just learning.
Yeah, and I think anybody in this industry will tell you it moves faster than any other industry. Yeah. I have bought, sold machines that worked 6 years ago.
But they don't do the same, they don't have the same results.
They're like dinosaurs now.
Yeah.
6 years.
It's not up to market,
Yeah. You have to feel, you have that momentum, you have to go to conferences.
Yes.
You have to kind of just open your mind to the people around you that can teach you. Because there's so much to learn in this industry. Yeah. And I love that.
So you talked about managing to how your people want to be managed, not how you want to be managed. And personality profiles and understanding your people and is so important. So if you were to recommend a course for a med spa owner to take, what kind of courses do you think they should be taking kind of as a business 101?
Yeah, I think you have to look at what's out there, because honestly the courses are so expensive. So I always think I was shocked when I first looked at the industry and because if you go to an OB course, it doesn't cost the same. Yeah. And which is crazy. I would look online first. There's tons to learn online. Yes. The SBA, the Small Business Association, has lots to learn. LinkedIn has a lot of resources, and then you can go to the Harvard management courses and spend all that. Yeah. But there's a lot online that you can learn, and I also think talking to your colleagues. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, when I first opened, I sat down with a plastic surgeon that I'm friendly with, and I said, what one machine do I need in addition? I have 2 cold sculpting machines, and I do injectables. He was like, get a hyperfacial machine. Get something for facials. That thing is it's inexpensive. You've got an esthetician. So, I know we tend to always talk about competition because I think that gets into people's heads a little bit in this industry. But I think if you talk to your colleagues and you find somebody that's a little bit of a mentor, they can help you.
100%. Because there's millions of people in the United States, and guys, we're all aging, and it's just exactly. It's sometimes I was looking at myself, I was like, ooh, I'm kind of tired today. But it's just we're all aging. There's a market, and it's just a matter of how are you educating your market? How are you educating your little part of, I call it the vineyard or whatever, in order to make sure that these people understand that your services are there, you can help them, and they can come in and get help by you. Because even I've seen places where there's a med spa, there's one right across the street. Oh yeah. They're still booked and busy, both of them. Yep. And so that mindset of of competition and always looking over our shoulders and things, it's not serving. It's a scarcity. It's not abundance mindset at all.
Yeah, and I think competition is such a big thing in terms of social media as well. You can really get into your head when you're watching all of what's happening on social media. And yes, I'm a victim to it as well. And when that happens, I stop, I put it down, and this is what I tell my children all the time. They all are very competitive hockey players. Stay in your lane. And there's always somebody better than you. There's always someone doing something you're not doing. But you sit there and scroll on social media and you're like, oh, I don't do that. And maybe you're not capable. Maybe you want to learn how to do that. Maybe that's not your niche. Find your thing.
Yes.
I mean, this is what I tell when I trained residents, I would always say, find what you're good at.
Yes.
And follow that. As you're, it's like, should I go into OB? Should I go into GYN oncology? Should I go into this? Should I go into, who do you want to deal with every day? And that's part of, why we have now started doing sexual wellness, probably now 3-4 years in our business. And it's been so great to blend both of my backgrounds, right?
Beautiful aesthetics and then sexual wellness coming together. Because OBGYN, you're dealing with a lot of that.
And it's my bread and butter. It's easy.
Yes,
for me,
you're like, oh,
right?
Like this is regular for you. Like I know what I'm doing here. Confidence, exactly.
And you do want to be confident. I mean, you're dealing with people. If you are insecure or people pick up on that.
Yes, 100%, 100%. And when you talk about too, niching is also important because some people try to be jack of all trades.
Yes.
And I can do this, we can do this, we can do that, and it's not realistic. And I think what you said there is important, staying in your lane. And because someone might be really great at lips, or someone might be great at threads, or someone might be great at, I don't know, post-lymphatic massage. I don't know. Right. There's so many different ways you can go in aesthetics, but find what you're good at and be known for that.
And Alicia's our nurse. I hired her part-time. She's going through her nurse practitioner school. When she came to me, she was like, I really don't know. I love injectables. Yeah. But I don't know what I love. Yes. And I'm like, I've seen you do 1 million lips. You love lips. She was like, no, I do. So there it is. That's your thing. And here's the other thing about that. That doesn't mean you can't do other things.
Exactly. True. Like
I do injectables. I do threads. We have a ton of body treatments and cool sculpting and whatnot. But if somebody were to ask what my specialty is, it's sexual wellness. Yeah. I mean, that's so awesome. Definitely, but that doesn't mean you can't do other things. It just might be one of the, that you're kind of known for. Yeah.
Like that's your primary thing. Yeah. Like even like with what I do, it's like, I work with a lot of people in aesthetics, but do I have lawyers that are clients? Do I have people that are clients? Yes, but
right.
I'm not marketing that all the time.
Exactly.
And so that's the thing. So I understand that. And so with that and in your practice, like you do a lot of teaching around the country. So can you talk a little bit more about the education that you do around the country, what you speak about, and how you even got into speaking?
Yeah, that was a little tricky for me. It took me a long time to be like, I can do a social media post. I'm like, I gotta do my hair, I gotta do my makeup. I'm like, oh, forget it. Just take pictures. I don't have time for that.
You're like, it's done.
First of all, it's funny because vanity is such a personal thing for people. And as I meet people, and I'll get back to your question, I'm not avoiding.
No, I know. I know.
As I meet people, you realize vanity is so personal.
Yes.
And as a gynecologist, I talk about the most personal things that
anyone,
right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it took a really long time for me to be able to public speak, I spoke for gynecology, but you're in a room of gynecologists. It just felt
so
different.
Comfortable. You're like, we all know what we're talking about here.
And I would look at these videos and go, oh my God, everyone looks so good. Like, how do I look so good? And just pretend I'm injecting someone. But you know what? Just turn the camera on. I'm injecting someone. I'm not going to pay attention to how I look. Yeah. Wow. So speaking, it was actually my Galderma representative who came to me and said, "Look, you are injecting like crazy. Yeah. I know you like our products. We'd love you to be a GAIN trainer."
Wow.
And that was the beginning of the injectable teaching. My cool sculpting rep came to me and said, "Would you come and do dinners and keynote speakers?"
Wow.
Just because we were so busy.
Yes.
And then I realized I'm not talking about a product. I'm talking about how I use it.
Yes.
Instead of, I don't want to talk about all the science as much as I actually enjoy speaking about how to make it lucrative, how to make it work for your practice, because that actually just happened for us. And I'm just sharing my experience and my knowledge, which then I speak for Vivive as well. That's our laser treatment for vaginal atrophy and tightening. That again is second nature to me to talk about anything that's for sexual wellness. And I know I had met you in Dallas because I was there for the sexual wellness speaking.
Yes, you were.
So, it's just fun. And I just love being with my people. Because you meet so many people.
You do.
And it was just great to see all the Boston people there, and we really get
along. We were representing.
We were, oh my gosh, there were tons of us. And it was
it's
so
great.
good because I don't have that competitive, I am a competitive person, but I'm competing against me.
Exactly.
I'm looking at my numbers from last year to this year. I want to grow our practice. Exactly. I'm not worrying about what so-and-so is doing.
Because we don't know what Sally, Michael, John, you don't know what their books are like.
Nope.
We don't know.
And literally, that is my mantra, is staying in your lane. Because it's working. If it's not working, maybe you do need to reach out and find out what's not working for you.
Exactly.
But we are in one of the most competitive areas in Needham, between Wellesley, Newton, Needham, and there's enough to go around. We're a populated area.
A whole lot to go around.
Absolutely.
Especially with all the different, the different transitions of aging. You have the millennials, you have the Gen X, you have it's like you just have the different, not one med spa can service them all.
No, and also that you brought that up, I have a PA who's 40-ish, I have a nurse who's 30-ish, and they all have different
little following.
Yes,
niche.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. So I think that's also helpful to kind of address, you just mentioned millennials, addressing different age populations.
Yes.
And a lot of my patients are my age, and some are postmenopausal, and we're talking about, how that affects both the skin of the face, skin of the vagina, body.
Exactly.
So I think that's really important too, is trying to find, what's your group, and how do you promote that and educate.
Exactly, educate. Because you guys have the wellness center here, which I think is a great piece. Because you and Heather, you guys are such boss babes. You guys have put that together. So tell us a little bit more about the wellness center, how that kind of integrates with the med spa, and how you reach out to the community with that kind of educational and wellness piece.
Yeah. So I met Heather Gillette right before I opened the first Elite Aesthetics. And she is a branding master.
Yes.
She's worked all over the country. Wow. And I didn't even know how to brand myself. Do I brand myself as me? Do I come up with a name?
Yeah.
So that's how we met, and we became best friends. And over the last 5-6 years, she has seen me need to grow.
Yes.
In space.
Yes.
Because we were stepping over each other in this 1,000 square foot. And based on where she was in her career, she was really interested in growing wellness. She actually did a lot of branding for CVS and realized that there's such a big wellness need.
Yeah.
And this beautiful space came up over COVID, and I was like, that's it. It's right across the street. I don't have to move in terms of moving my patient population. And she and I decided to go into business together to open the wellness piece.
Yeah.
I think there's I don't have to tell you, you've lived through COVID, there's such a need for wellness.
100%.
And people have really, you watch TV, now there's commercials for meditation. When did that ever happen?
I was like, wow.
A meditation app on commercials. So,
Calm and all these different things coming out, I
mean, that's incredible. So there obviously is a need, but also we felt like where we were in our life, that this was a great business opportunity.
Yeah.
So our wellness center, we have a gorgeous salt room.
I know, it's so nice.
It's amazing. It's good for relaxation and wonderful for your respiratory system. And then we have a ton of body treatments we have 3 amazing Asian old school massage therapists, but they do cupping and Reiki and hot stones and body scrubs, and girl, I need to get in there. I need to be here right now. But one of the things I love so much is we do classes. And so on Saturday night, we have a lot of events. Saturday night we did a tarot reading, salt room, birthday event. We have, I like to dance. So
I know. Always dancing. Check out her Instagram. She's an actual dancer.
I do. Well, not like I used to be, but I still like to dance. So we do salsa and salt, where we'll have but they're small groups. And really my inspiration is I went to a spa that you had to obviously stay there, and then they had all of these experiences, and I was like, why don't we have experiences that you can pop in for 2-3 hours and not stay a whole weekend? So we will customize
Wow.
experiences. But we have a long list of those that you can choose from. We have a autumn abundance right now for candle making, crystals, setting your intention. So it's a really nice, it's a nice complement to feeling good externally, but also feeling really good internally.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that happened. And then we basically advertise that we have like a 2,000 patient population. So we advertise within, we advertise with all the other ways, with social media and Google ads and whatnot. So
that's so great. I love it. And I that's one of my favorite parts of like your med spa is that you do, there's not many med spas that do that. I think it's becoming something more regular that's happening with med spas. And where they're focusing on the inner person, because you can do whatever you want to the canvas, but if it's not right, it's you're not
we
gonna
all
have
know
the
we
canvas,
feel better when we've taken care of ourselves.
Exactly.
And that's one of those things I do. I had a patient come in the other day who was incredibly tearful. She just lost her daughter-in-law to breast cancer. And she's like, I can't believe I'm here and I'm doing Botox, and how stupid is that? And I was like, honey, you're taking care of yourself. You have been taking care of somebody for a year and a half, and now you're taking care of you. Why is that why do we have to judge ourselves for taking care of ourselves?
I think women do it more though.
Oh, for sure.
Because you just feel guilty. Yeah. That kind of caretaker thing. You're like, oh my God.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So, we're kind of wrapping down here, but you have so much knowledge, and I want you to look at our audience and tell them, if you were to give, a newer med spa owner or even someone who's in business, but they need to kind of have a reset, what would be your biggest piece of advice to other med spa owners in the field in order to improve? Any words of advice for them?
Yeah, I think I go back to staying in your own lane. I think finding your niche is one of the most important things. Find what you're good at, what you feel comfortable doing, what you feel like it comes second nature. I mean, the old adage is that if you love your job, you don't work a day in your life. And my kids have watched me grow, and I've said that to them a million times over, that if you're lucky enough, you really do find something you really enjoy, but also take those courses, learn more, become the expert. And try to get away a little, social media is so important in our field, but there are times you just need to shut it down. If you're following somebody and you're getting those kind of, competitive vibes, and stop, stay in your lane, do your thing, and ask for help when you need it.
Yeah. Wow. That is such great advice. Oh my God. Dr. Joelle, it's been such a pleasure.
Thank you,
sitting with you, talking to you, having our listeners learn about you, and me, of course. Let everyone know where we can find you on the internet, and I'm going to be linking everything in the show notes for you guys. And if you're in Massachusetts, you should definitely come by here. But tell them where you can find me on the internet. So
on the internet, we're at myelitemedspa.com. We have many different Instagrams because all of us have our own. I'm at Dr. Joelle Lieman. And our main page for Instagram is My Elite Medspa. If you're interested in our experiences, it's My Elite Experience. Yes. So that's our wellness piece.
That's so great. Well, thank you again for your time
Thank
today.
you.
You're wonderful.
So are you.
Thank
you.